Nearly 1 in 3 teenagers will experience some form of dating violence, and it can take many forms, some of them more subtle than others. Physical, emotional, sexual, or even digital abuse. Dr. Raquel Pina, a family medicine physician with Kaiser Permanente, is joining us to talk about early signs that you can look out for. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So with the addition of digital, it can be very subtle in some ways. So what signs are there and what types are there?
So I think it's really important to know what are the types of violence, as you mentioned. So there is the emotional and verbal, which is most common in teens and can escalate to more physical violence. The digital piece, the technological piece, where we are dealing with passwords, with their social media accounts, demanding to be part of those accounts, requiring to look at their passwords, that jealousy component piece of it. With that digital, there's also could be stalking, where they're watching that individual using their phones, tracking them, and that unwanted, unnecessary stalking piece that can happen as well.
Okay, and then so some of these signs are going to be harder to spot than others because they're so much more subtle than what you would typically think of as in physical violence.
Right, so it's really important to recognize what are the signs. Parents need to know, if they are, and teens need to be aware of this, constant criticism. They could be putting their partners down, insults. It can lead to threats. It can lead to, isolation, controlling. There's this power struggle that happens with that. So really paying attention. Do your teens always feel like they need to have their phone? Are they having to say where they're at? Are they having to make excuses for their partners because of some of that control and some of that power that happens in that space? Also making sure they know to keep their passwords protected. They don't have to share them. It is not endearing. They do not have to look into that jealousy and share passwords. They need to keep those things protected. Any photographs, that can be digital if their partner is requesting to have a photograph or sending things that they're not comfortable with. They have to also recognize, to have that respect, to have those boundaries and set those boundaries, and their partner should respect that as part of a healthy relationship.
No, I've heard parents actually voice concern over, but should I check their phone? Should I check their account? Should I look at this stuff? Isn't that an invasion of privacy? What's your recommendation?
Right, so because it starts so early, teen dating violence can start as early as 12 years old. And at that point, our kids are just really trying to navigate this. So it is important to know, what they're accessing, what social media they're on, looking at their platforms and being involved with this. Otherwise, we don't know, and they don't know the dangers out there. So it is really important for us parents to monitor that and monitor that with our kids.
And 1 in 3, that's shocking that it's that common.
It's really common. It's really an epidemic, and kids think they might recognize it. Parents think they might as well, but we know that they really don't. And so whether your teen is experiencing it or they're witnessing it, so they may need to know these signs, and whether they're protecting themselves or really helping their friends. And really, one thing that's really common is, again, going back to that power, that control, and realizing that these behaviors are not healthy. It is not healthy to have somebody, really trying to have any of that control, the criticism that comes along with it. There can be the emotional, the verbal abuse that comes along with it, constantly texting, maybe looking at, really trying to bring them in and isolating them from others, jealousy, extreme jealousy. Some forms of jealousy can be okay, but when it is, what do they do with those acts? Are they acting out? And kids really need to realize it's not endearing. It's not love. It is a form of power and control, and so they need to recognize that those are not signs of a healthy relationship. And our jobs are also to help teach them what is a healthy relationship.
Right.
What do healthy relationships look like? How do we set boundaries in our relationships so that we're able to recognize those behaviors when they see it?
All right, we want to share some resources with you. The Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault 24-hour hotline is up on your screen right now. That's 327-1091. Of course, you can always dial 911, and please do in an emergency, or you can text a tip, and that is tip 41847-411 to reach out to get help as well. Dr. Raquel Pina, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.